What's up, Bulldogs? All right, I feel like I just do reaction videos to my own videos, but that's fine. It's good. I want to engage you guys in the comments, so if you leave a comment below, I'm reading the comments, and sometimes I will do a video, so your voice is heard, and I do appreciate it. Even if you disagree with me, especially if you disagree with me, I appreciate respectful discourse where you tell me that, no, John, I don't agree with this, because it allows me to expound upon the topic, so it tells me what things to expand upon, and that makes sense, right? That helps me to be able to communicate better, and also sometimes there are instances of correction where I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like I didn't see that perspective. And so I do appreciate it greatly. So this one we're going to be looking at is, let's see, a comment from start shit with your woman to make her like you more. I feel like this is a very important concept. It's a good video, okay? I've been making some pretty good videos lately. So he says here, this is correct. I feel like some women are just willing to escalate the situation, though to the point where it's borderline violent. Since you can't discipline women like a child, what do you do there? I feel like some men just keep the peace when this happens because eventually you're going to get tired of this. So I've been confronted with this on multiple occasions. So here's the thing. You're right that some women will escalate things, and you can't discipline a woman like you can a child. Well, in fact, here's the thing though. You can in the respect that, can you spank a child? Sure, you can. Should you? No, I don't think so. I've never spanked my daughter. I'm not going to. And the reason why is because I have power. I have way more effective methods of power than spanking, than physical harm, right? And it's like that, and that's kind of punitive, right? So I can take stuff away. I can remove permissions from things, right? I am the one who's in charge of this house, and so I can enforce my way through that by creating disciplines, right? And so, but what I'm getting at is that what we want to focus on as men is discipline for ourselves and discipline for others, and we provide discipline both for ourselves and for other people, including our children, including our women, right? Our wives, or our girlfriend, whatever it is. And when I say this, don't get this in the wrong way, right? So when I say discipline, remember, punitive is punishment. Discipline is corrective, right? So we don't want to do punitive things. That's not good. That's bad, okay? But we want to be corrective, and discipline is correcting someone for their own good. It's also a matter of setting boundaries. So let's say that you're in a situation where a woman is continually escalating things, right? So first of all, what you have to understand is that the most powerful weapon that you have as a man is your feet. It's your ability to leave, to withdraw attention. And so there's two scenarios that you could be in as a man dealing with a woman, right? So the first one is the easier one, and this is where it's easier to kill a dragon while it's still a baby. And that's when you're first involved with a woman, she has not disrespected you yet, or very hardly has. You're first dating a woman, right? She hasn't yelled at you, hasn't done any of this kind of stuff. The moment that she does, you do not tolerate it at all. What I mean is that you set a clear boundary. So let's say you're dating a girl, and then something happens, you drop your keys, or you get locked out of your apartment. Something happens that is annoying to her, or pisses her off in some way. She starts huffing puffing at you or whatever and says something like, that was dumb. At that point, right, she's made that comment. That's where you have to really draw the line and say, excuse me, what did you say? Right? Like, just to clarify. And then just give her a chance to save face, right? But you should draw a boundary and say, look, we can talk, we have a discussion. That's totally fine. I do not like being called names, and I won't be called names, or I won't have someone yell at me. Okay? If that's going to happen, I'm not going to be here. We're not going to have a discussion, right? I'm not going to spend my time with someone it's not acceptable to me. If you do this, I will not continue. I would just go home. And that's the thing. It's the same thing, right? As you said, you can't do this with a kid. Man, let me tell you, when my daughter was young, she used to carry on in restaurants like kids do. I told her one day, I was like, here's the deal. We're going to the restaurant. If you yell and scream in the restaurant, if you throw a fit, anything like that, we're going to leave immediately the moment that you do it. So you know what to do at the restaurant. But if you do this, if you yell, I'll tell you one time, I'll say, cut it out. If you give me any kind of back talk, or you continue to do it, or you do it again, we're going to leave the restaurant. She didn't really believe me. She thought, okay, well, we've got the food coming, right? We ordered the food, all right? It's on the way. And she starts carrying on. And I tell her, she defies it. She says, no, whatever. She still's yelling. And I'm like, okay, let's go. We're leaving. And we just left the restaurant. I paid for the food, okay? Because I'm not going to stiff the restaurant. But we didn't eat the food. We just left. And she only had to learn that one time. And so you can do the same thing. If you're dating a woman and she's disrespectful to you, then you just tell her. You just set the boundary. You say, I'll just end the date. We'll just go home. I'll just drop you off at home. That's fine. Again, that's a little extreme. It depends on where the level of disrespect is and what, a little slip up. She's used to treating guys in a certain way. You just have to show that I'm not a guy that's going to be treated that way. Again, you don't have to do this in a mean way. You should do everything with love, but you can still be stern with love. You can still say, yeah, that's not cool. Calling me a name, but I don't let people do that. So, if you do it, then we're not going to be together, or I'm not gonna, you're not the girl for me, right? It depends on where you're at in the situation, in the relationship. The second scenario is when the dragon's already big. Okay, so you're in the situation with a woman who's already disrespected you. She yells in your face, she escalates things. Now you got to start setting that boundary and nipping it in the bud. Okay, that means that once you're hearing what I'm telling you and you're going to start applying this to your life, is that when a woman says to you what she says, she starts it, right? Let's say you're in this discussion. Let's say you're bringing up something that is going to be conflict because it's something that's bothering you. You tell her, and let's say that she starts to go off on you. The very first thing that she does that's unacceptable. Again, you might not like what she's saying. That's okay. She can say it. She could even say it in a tone that's not the best, or be emotional about it, or even in a somewhat raised voice. But if she's yelling in your face, if she's calling you names, if she's insulting you, attacking your character, doing things that are not acceptable, okay, throwing a fit, as soon as that escalates at all to the point where she's starting to do any of that stuff, that pattern that you've let her get away with before, you have to nip it in the bud. You have to say, hold up, time out. Look, we can have a discussion about this, and I'm happy to discuss with you, but you're not gonna disrespect me to my face. You're not going to yell in my face, right? I don't accept that. I'm not going to allow someone to do that, right? Again, you have to turn it to yourself, right? You really can't. It's better if you do not say, you're not gonna do this. I mean, you can, again, you have options, but I would say that it's gonna be better if you say, I'm not gonna allow someone to yell in my face. I'm not gonna allow someone to call me names. I'm not gonna allow someone to do that. Okay, and then you lay it out and say, if you want to have a discussion, we can have a discussion. If you call me names, if you yell in my face, if you're disrespectful in that way, then I will not be having this discussion. And if you're going somewhere, then and I will go home. We'll go home. That's it. Or whatever it is, you say, I'll leave. I'm going to go to the gym. When you're ready to talk, we can talk, right? And you have to repeat this over and over again. So she sees every time that you do this, every time that she does this, you're pulling away. Now, this is different than giving the cold shoulder or the silent treatment. That comes without a warning. That's a punitive thing. Okay, you're trying to hurt the other person so that they come around. This is a discipline thing. This is where you're saying, no, this is a boundary. I'm telling you what it is. I'm not upset. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to get angry. I'm doing this from a place of love. But if you do this, this will be the result. And you have to follow through on this, right? So that there's no opportunity. She cannot escalate it if you de-escalate it. She can, maybe in response to that, she starts yelling and screaming, right? But you're out of the conversation. You're not engaging with that. You just tell her, look, I'm not going to engage with it. You can do what you want to do. It's up to you. If you want to throw fits and carry on or whatever it is you want to do, that's fine. And if you want to continue to call me names, that's fine. But I'm not going to engage. If you do that, you will lose my engagement. So you'll be talking to a wall. And that's not stonewalling. That is giving a warning about your boundary and then holding your boundary. And I guarantee you, if you repeatedly do this, one of two things will happen. One, she's going to come around and she's going to start respecting your boundaries. Or two, you're going to get rid of her. Because if you have a woman that continually wants to harass you, wants to disrespect you, and cannot respect your boundaries, that's not a woman that you need to be with. So you do have options. Even if you're married, you still have the option, right? Again, you don't have to do the nuclear option and be like, and you shouldn't, because you better follow through. Whatever boundary you set, you better follow through. So don't do the nuclear option and be like, all right, yeah, if you say this, then we're getting a divorce, or I'm leaving, or whatever, I'm going to go fuck Sally, or whatever it is. No, do not do that, right? If you're married, you can just set that boundary like that and then say, okay, we're going to go home. Okay, I'm not going to engage with you. And then she's never going to be able to get to that point. One of the things you're doing when you're doing this is you're saving her from herself, okay? I've had to do this multiple times with my daughter, where I've told her, like, look, I'm going to end this conversation because you're not being disrespectful. And if you keep on carrying on, you're going to have consequences, right? But I'm saving her from herself, because I know if I continue to engage with her at this point when she's being disrespectful, she's going to get herself to a point where she's going to get into big trouble. Same thing with your woman. Don't let her harm herself in that way, where her emotions take over and she goes down a disrespectful road. If she's going down, she can have emotions, that's fine, even big emotions, and you should handle those as a man, but don't let her go down the disrespectful road, because once she goes down that road, she's going to keep on escalating, and she's going to get herself in trouble and put you in a tough spot where you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do now with what she's just done. You understand? Especially if she physically hits you or something like that. Don't ever let it get to that point, okay? You cannot tolerate this, and you can't have leniency. There has to be a zero tolerance policy for disrespect, right? Again, handle it in a loving way. Show her that you love her, but at the same time, you have to be, it's because you care about her that you're not going to allow her to treat you in a bad way that would make her feel bad about herself and lose respect for her own self, right? And her own integrity. So you're the man, you're in charge, you're the leader, you have to stop these things. So anyway, this is a great comment, great question here. I hope that clears things up. I've got more if you want more information on this topic, first resource is Better Than Perfect podcast that I do with my wife every single week. We have a ton of content on all of this stuff, on how to deal with this stuff. And you get a female perspective as well, a woman who actually believes this stuff and understands what I'm saying and respects me as a man, right? She's never yelled at me, never called me a name, never any of those things, right? She has treated me with 100% respect. And part of it is because of what I'm teaching you here. I don't tolerate it. She knows, like, she just knows that it's not ever going to fly with me. I don't allow that at all in my life. I have that standard. Okay. The other resource is Bulldog Mindset membership. I talk about it all the time, but if you haven't joined already, you really should. We're going to be moving that over to school and doing all kinds of cool stuff there. But there's a ton of content in there on all kinds of stuff like this. So I'll see you tomorrow.